It is necessary to purge the establishment.
What she's suggesting that churches do, focus on...
That's not necessarily a good thing to start with.
They're stating it wasn't around when we needed the greatest generation of the 30s or 40s.
It happened before the election because there's too many Republicans that are afraid that their wrongdoings are going to...
It's unacceptable, and I'm not going to sit here, stay silent, and not call it out. I'm calling out their lies.
Do they think that we are so stupid that we will not notice and find out?
I am a raging patriot.
Welcome to KSoK Uncensored. I am here in the Villages, Florida with a special family friend. We have Elliott here, who is today's guest.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate it. We've got wine. This is the Villages style, right?
That's it.
You should see the lighting situation we have here. This is amazing. It's like TV trays, and we've got phone books and lanterns. Like, we made a little studio here on the lanai, and it's working. So really excited to be here today, and we have a lot to talk about. But I just want to, shed light on the Northwest right now, as you guys have likely seen what's happening and what happened in Seattle this week. It's been a really sad week for the Seattle area, and really every City of Seattle employee that is not vaccinated was let go. And when you think about it, the City of Seattle, and that's firefighters and police officers and so many civilians that perform functions that we don't always think about that are incredibly necessary. And, you think about a city that's already falling because they have a DA that doesn't prosecute. They have crime skyrocketing, and now you do this, and the police department was already incredibly understaffed, and now they just lost 25% of officers that actually patrol the streets, even though what you're seeing reported by Seattle officials is a very small number. But what they're not reporting is the actual individuals who patrol the streets. They lost 25%, and that's on top of the already dire numbers that they had in Seattle. So it's just a really sad week for those that are up north. Elliott, what are your thoughts on what is happening in the Northwest?
I just find it absurd that they continue to pick on the police department, the fire department, so on and so forth. The people that they needed so desperately months ago, and forget about how they picked on them when they had all those, riots and everything. But today, instead of saying thank you, they go and they say, look, if you don't do this, if you don't get vaccinated,
right,
which I'm in favor of getting vaccinated, if you don't get vaccinated, you're fired.
Right.
I'm not sure I understand how you can be one way with one part of it,
right,
and so different with the other part of it.
Right.
Again, I am all for vaccinations. I just think it's the right way to go. But if you were okay not to be vaccinated months ago when they needed you,
right,
well, how can you just become the opposite today?
Exactly. It's like you think about all of the healthcare employees. It's like yesterday's heroes, today's zeros. They're all being fired if they are choosing not to be vaccinated, and that's what it's all about. Like, we can have a difference in opinion on vaccine effectiveness, etc. But the whole thing is we should have the ability to have that opinion and to make our decisions for our own bodies. And
the shame of it all is, excuse me for interrupting,
No,
but the
go for
shame
it.
of it all is that it's not limited to the Northwest. This is
Right.
throughout the country.
right,
And I don't want to get off topic, but the absurdity of it all is that the Americans have to go through all this,
right,
and yet illegal aliens who are pouring into the southern border, through the southern border,
right,
they're okay.
right,
And,
exactly.
and the government is spreading them throughout the country.
Exactly. I know they're flying them. I mean, even here in Florida, they're flying them into Florida in the middle of the night.
Yes.
And to me, they're infiltrating red states because they want that vote. And who saved me? Who let me, become
Yes.
or live in the United States? Well, the left, the Democrats, and so that's who they're going to vote for because they're pushing for no voter ID requirements. And so, unless we do something drastic, I'm sure you agree with me on this, but unless there's voter reform across the board, we're never going to have a legitimate election again.
Yes, but I think the Democrats are doing all they can to help the Republicans retake the House and the Senate. Their actions are so absurd, so stupid.
Right.
I don't think the Republicans can do any better than what the Democrats are doing for them. My only problem is I don't know how good the memory of the Republicans are, or more important, the independents.
Right.
Will they remember tomorrow what the Democrats are doing wrong today?
We have a question from Dan. Oh, they've been bussed. This is a Mayor Wade of Idaho, Iowa. They're bussing them into Iowa.
Right.
But we have Dan here. He's asking, how do all the people in the villages feel they are pushing in the community? I'm assuming he's talking about vaccines.
Well, the average village
No, not the band, right? Not the YMCA.
no,
Just kidding.
no, not the
What?
no, but the average villager is well, you have to be 55 or older for the majority.
Right.
So the average villager takes the vaccine because it's what's recommended for them.
Right.
So I would say the vast majority of villages are vaccinated,
Right.
and that's by their choice. I happen to like what Ron DeSantis is doing, how he feels about everything, how he's pushing everything, and I think that's the average villager feels the same way.
Yeah, you have the best governor in the United States.
Yes.
Everything he does, I mean, I haven't disagreed with him yet. So you're very blessed to live in a state
Yes.
governed by DeSantis, for sure.
I'm only worried that he may. It's a two-sided
Right.
sword. I mean, he may run for president,
I know.
and he would be. I think he would be great.
Yes.
But on the other hand, we lose a great governor.
I know. It is bittersweet in that sense because I think the same thing. I think he would have my vote hands down, but it's true. He's so amazing for Floridians. And
Yes.
the other thing is, though, and of course, here I am, I'm foreshadowing, but his wife did get diagnosed with breast cancer recently. And so my thoughts are that he's not going to want to run in 24. We'll see how things play out, but I think, God, family, country. So I think that he might be focusing on his wife and
I
state
think-
governor.
I think 24 is a long way off.
Yeah, it is.
And he has a lot of things to think of. Hopefully, I don't know what degree his wife has,
Right. I don't either.
but hopefully it's not
Right.
too bad,
Right.
and he will be able to continue either as governor or as a candidate for presidency.
Right.
Of course, his wife's health is of the most importance.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. We'll see how that shakes out. So what are your thoughts on 22. I know you've already mentioned really the Democrats are doing everything they can to, they don't realize how many people they're red pilling every day. But my concerns, and I'm curious what your thoughts are, if there isn't voter reform, is there even a chance of us regaining the House and the Senate in 22 without voter reform across the board?
I think so. I'm looking for voter reform, but I think so. I mean, Senator Manchin has been talked about, or it's been rumored that he may change party affiliation to the Republicans. And of course, McConnell has said that would be great because
Right.
then he becomes the majority leader.
Right, right.
But even if he doesn't, if he just votes as an independent, which is the other thing he's been talked about, is that he will drop from the Democratic Party
Right.
and go
I saw that.
as an independent. Either way, it gives the Republicans a much stronger position. In the House, I can't, listen, I can't imagine that the average open-minded American voter would not be, if not disgusted, they would not be upset with the way the government is working today, be it the economy, um, what happened in Afghanistan, what's going on at
Right.
the border, inflation, gas prices.
Right.
I can't imagine that the Democrats, are going to continue to control both parties.
Right.
I don't mean both
Right.
parties. I'm
The
sorry.
House and the Senate.
Both the House and
Right.
the Senate. And
Right.
typically, the party in control loses some position
Right.
in the midterms.
Right.
And
Right.
I
That makes
assume that's
sense.
going to continue.
And the other thing is, once the left really starts feeling the fact that we have all these ships out there, that we don't have people to unload them, we don't have truck drivers to disperse the goods throughout the United States, there's empty shelves already. And so when we think about, basically the left is telling us to lower our standards and expect your expectations need to be lowered. You're going to see bare shelves. You're not going to be able to get your hands on all items needed. They're telling us to set our expectations low. And by those actions, I really feel that they are red pilling people each day. I also feel, though, that unfortunately a lot of people on the left are so thick-headed and close-minded that I would love to see a much larger amount red pilled and voting differently. But I think it's a process. But they have to feel it. They have to feel it where it hurts, which may be Christmas. Maybe they won't have what they wanted to buy their family members on Christmas, and they'll really feel the impact. Maybe they won't get their favorite foods, their soybeans or whatever they eat. I don't know. But what are your thoughts on that?
I've always thought that there are too many Democrats, excuse me, that will vote party, and there are too
Yeah.
many Republicans that vote party.
Right.
I think it's the independents that are the people that you have to attack,
Yeah.
that you have to just put your arms around and show why you should be affiliated
That makes sense.
with this thinking, not
Right.
this party.
Right.
I am myself. I'm not affiliated with any party,
Smart.
but I think you have to show why this party is the party you should at least listen to more attentively.
Right. That makes sense. Because you're going to have those that are just so thick-headed that there's just no way of swaying them.
No.
So why not focus on the ones that are actually open to hearing what the candidates have to say and making their decision based on that versus just voting down the party line?
Now, that's not to say that there are no Democrats that would listen and vote for a Republican or vice versa.
Right.
but I think your best audience is the audience in the middle.
Right. I would agree with you. I think that's absolutely spot on. All right. I want to talk to you about something on that topic. I was tipped off to the fact of, and just so you guys know, he's been best friends with my father-in-law for over 50 years.
I had pity for him.
And so I was tipped off by my father-in-law, who's so cute, and he actually put together questions for me. He was really nervous when I told him I didn't have like written out questions. That's just kind of how I roll. It's all up here. But he put together actual questions for me tonight, which I thought was really cute. But he did tip me off to the fact that you actually used to be left-leaning. He said he harassed you for it over the years, but I am curious what red-pilled you.
Well, I grew up in New York City. I grew up in a Democrat family. I was too young to vote for, but I did some volunteer work for President Kennedy,
Okay.
who I admired greatly, as I did his brother, and much to the chagrin of many people, Senator Ted Kennedy as well. I was a Democratic committee man, the president of the Democratic Club, a municipal leader of the
Wow.
Democratic Party in my town. But in spite of all those labels, I always voted for the person and the position. In other words, if there was a Republican that spoke to me, I voted for that person. If there was a Democrat that spoke to me, I voted for that person. I guess
That's good.
I would say I was much like President Reagan, who said he was a Kennedy Democrat.
Okay.
So after years of being belittled by your father-in-law, listen, I think it happened to a lot of people. Times changed, and
Right.
and the Democrat Party changed,
Oh, absolutely.
and I kind of again, I'm not a registered Republican, but my thinking went more along the lines of the Republicans than it did the Democrats. So I voted for a Republican or many Republicans, but I wouldn't call myself. I'm proud. Let me say that I'm proud to call myself a free-thinking independent.
I like that. Hey, you know what? That's really what it should be about. We shouldn't be tied down to one party. It should be about the candidate. I have to say, are you able to go back to the 2 comments ago concerning law enforcement? Because that is a dropper for me. I did not know that. I don't know if you saw it.
No,
Tens of thousands of work visas have been approved for foreigners seeking careers in law enforcement here in America. It's so concerning on so many levels.
Could you read that again?
Yeah, so tens of thousands of work visas have been approved for foreigners seeking careers in law enforcement here in the United States.
Listen, we are a country of immigrants. We've always been, and I hope we can continue to be such. So if they're foreigners, it's of no mind to me.
As long as they're vetted, that's my concern.
That's my concern.
Who are they bringing in? Have they gone through the vetting process? I mean, it's incredibly concerning, and it's so sad. You think about what happened in Seattle. So we're going to fire, U.S. citizens because they didn't get the vaccine. Meanwhile, we have illegals pouring in the open border, unvaccinated illegals pouring in the open border, and who's to say they aren't being replaced with? We're going to be like a police state, which is really concerning because it makes me think of brown shirts in Germany. And it's like if you fire all the free thinkers, anyone that wants to exercise their own opinion, and say, you know what, this isn't for me, and I'm able to make that own decision for my body. You fire all these free thinkers, and then you just have soldiers. And it concerns me that now we're just hiring people that are soldiers. And so are they going to actually care about the U.S. Constitution? What are your thoughts on that?
I have a problem with, again, I have a problem with them getting rid of people that are, if you come up with a mandate, I think you have to come up with a mandate like polio. They mandated everyone has to be vaccinated, fine. But you can't mandate just certain groups at certain times. To me, it's either all or nothing. I mean, vaccinate the kids, but not the teachers.
Right.
Well, why?
I know.
How does that work?
I know.
Vaccinate the police, but not the
grocery store workers who interact
workers.
with thousands more people.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
No, it doesn't.
But,
it doesn't.
But I think the whole mentality is what we have right at the top, which isn't much of a mentality.
No,
unfortunately, I have a terrible problem with the man at the top. I think he has to, to me, what Truman said and what Joe Biden said is true. The buck stops here, and yet he says it, but I don't think he believes it.
Right.
I haven't heard him take a position other than vaccinate. It's free.
Yeah.
It's easy. I don't care if it's free and easy. Take a position and just work it so people. A president that said, "I'm going to bring all the people together," has polarized. It's unbelievable what he's done.
Right. Absolutely. It's pretty sick. I know he has puppet masters. And what's happening, and I don't think he's a good person. I actually think he's a pretty evil person. But what's happening to him is elder abuse. And the fact that all these people are allowing him, clearly he has dementia or something. He's not all there. And they're allowing him to make a complete fool out of himself every day. He has puppet masters. And it's really sad to watch him unravel.
Well, I don't know how much unraveling. He's been in public for 47, 48 years.
Right.
He's never been known, as far as I know, as being, the top of his class.
Right.
And he got the position of president, or he got the nomination of president, because he was a self-eluded centrist. He was going to bring both parts of the party together and then bring the whole country together. Well, he's done neither. In fact, I think this country is farther apart than it's ever been.
Right. Oh, it absolutely is. It absolutely is. It's really wild. I want to turn the table here and talk about. So we're in the Villages, Florida here, guys, and Elliott's a New Yorker. If you can't tell, I married a New Yorker, and New Yorkers in the family.
You got a problem with that?
No, hey, it's in my blood too.
Oh, okay.
But if you could plug the Villages and what it's like here, as I've already told you, I love it here. I want to be like the youngest resident here. I mean, if I can get an exception at 40 to live here, that would be amazing. It is like Disneyland for 50 plus. But I'm just curious if you could share with our viewers, like what a day in the life of a Villages resident is like.
Well, first,
the good, the bad, and the ugly.
There is no bad and ugly, except for your
what about the
father-in-law.
STD rates?
No. But I will tell you that I moved down here in 2012 and have not regretted a day of it, other than missing my children and my grandchildren, who I speak to on FaceTime every day, but don't get to hug them and kiss them.
Yeah.
But other than that, this place is terrific. It's the weather is great. The people are great. You can be busy 24 hours a day, or you can sit down and do nothing 24 hours a day. It's just terrific. I play at playing golf twice a week. I go to the gym 2 or 3 times a week for a couple of, for a half hour or an hour.
Yeah.
And I belong to a couple of clubs.
Do share.
We started a club called the So Long Island Club.
Nice.
It's a lot of fun. We have about 200 members. We just have a good time, and that's all the clubs.
That's awesome.
I mean, I belong to 3 or 4 or 5 clubs, and it's all about enjoying your life.
Right.
So what
I love
could
it
be bad?
here. It's really nice. Yeah, I've had a great time here, and golf carts and golf courses everywhere. I mean, it's so large. There's 5 zip codes here, and live music every single night of the year. That's not even an exaggeration.
Yes.
That to me, I love it. I love that.
There are 3 squares, and each square has live music from 5 to 9, weather permitting.
Yeah.
365 days a year. Amazing.
It's really a great place.
It is. It's terrific.
It really is. No, that's funny. Well, about the entire administration is a sad joke. Yes, it is. Now, he's the mayor of a little town in Iowa, Mayor Wade. 17 years as a police officer. It has always been the same. You must be a citizen, right? Well, there's even, you think about it, even in like the city of Boston, you can't just apply to be Boston PD. You have to actually live in that city for X amount of years. There's so many places like that where you have to even be a citizen of that city and live in certain zip codes to even patrol those streets. So it's just pretty crazy here. Is Elliott the village Mac Daddy? Oh, well, he is married, but let's let you answer that. Are you the Mac Daddy of the villages?
Whatever you want, baby.
Whatever you want, baby. That's his answer. Oh my gosh. Am I moving to Florida? So many people have asked me, you know what? My husband has 13 years till he can retire in Portland. That said, we all know the direction Portland's going in. It's going down the tubes fast. So we'll see. We will see.
But to that gentleman from Iowa,
yes,
and everybody else that has been connected with the police force or the fire department,
right,
armed forces, I salute you. I thank you very much for your service. You guys are you guys meeting women as well as men.
Very PC of you.
Yeah, no, I mean that.
Yeah.
I salute you. I thank you for your service.
That's awesome. All right, one last question here before we go. Is there dancing in the villages?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Dance every day.
Yeah.
Go to the squares. They have line dancing. They have clubs that have every type of dancing you want. You want ballroom dancing. You want line dancing. You want Latin dancing.
Yep.
You can even do the horror.
All right. I like that. All right. We've got a question from my buddy Kevin here. Elliott, do you know a golf guy named McClellan? I don't know. There's a lot of people here.
No.
I
could do a whole bit on it, but no, I don't. No.
And Kevin, by the way, all right. Oh, yes, definitely. I have to plug real quick. Kevin, my hat, Royal on here, he bought me a hat and he sent it to me and it's awesome. And I wish I had it out here. It's We the People Are Pissed Off. And my father-in-law is obsessed with it and I just ordered him two. And so he's really excited.
What kind of hat is it?
What kind of hat? It's a baseball hat and it says We the People in the writing that would be in the Constitution and it says Are Pissed Off. I think the second one that he had me orders for you.
Oh, okay.
If not, I'll order you another one. I don't know who else it would be for. I know Kathy's not going to order. But anyways, thank you, Kevin, for that. And you guys, please hang around. We have 2 great shows following me. We have Blue Family Unity, and then we have The Loaded Mic. And also, please don't forget to support our Patriot Mike Lindell by shopping My Pillow. Remember, we have Christmas right around the corner. We have our own code, RAM. That's what my family's getting this Christmas. Like it or not, pillows, slippers, robes, whatever. We're supporting Mike Lindell because he spent so much money just trying to preserve the U.S. Constitution and shed light on the truth. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Elliott, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you
This has
for
been really
having
fun.
me. It's been fun. I hope to be back sometime.
Absolutely. I would love that.
What? This is it?
This is it. That's all she wrote.
If you're part of the law enforcement family, this is your show. Here we talk about all things Leo family life. The good, the bad, the funny and the sad, and everything in between. Crime is exploding across America. Defunding the police is causing even more chaos and increased crime in communities we live, work, and raise our families. Defunding the police, ironically, requires more police officers to work overtime, which costs taxpayers more money and leads to decreased officer morale, increased burnout, and unfortunately, more mistakes. Less than lethal options will simply result in more fatal police shootings. We need your support to refund the police. Fight back against defunding the police. Politicians want to slash police. Tell them no. Do your part to support police. Show you care. Your donations will go towards development of a national media advertising blitz to rally Americans who are sick and tired of the attacks on law enforcement and focus on the negative impact the defund the police movement is having on our country. The establishment of a strike team of researchers and reporters to highlight the devastating impact of defunding the police. And we will work within our communities to highlight both positive stories of law enforcement.
So I'm throwing them the thank you party to show them I still appreciate them. To my heroes, I want to say don't stop. Please don't give up. Many do not care or appreciate the sacrifices that you make every day, that I do.
And bring you the stories that are ignored by the mainstream media. Donate today, and together, let's refund the police. Well, hello, Blue family and friends. Thanks for coming back for another episode of Blue Family Unity. I'm Elsa Kurt, and today we are continuing our conversation with Jim Riscatti, who is a clinical social worker, and he does some pretty amazing work with first responders and their families in helping them handle and deal and manage the stresses of their jobs, and not just their firefighters and police officers, also their family members. And a lot of us, including myself, were not aware that those services were available to family members as well as our law enforcement or first responder spouses. So there was a lot of great information in this interview, and I'm so excited to share both parts with you. I hope you checked out part one. It's up and available. You can watch it on Right America Media, and everywhere that you can find me, you can find that video. And so without further ado, let's get over to part two of that great interview. Thanks. And I almost feel this sense of relief from anybody who might be listening and realizing that I can get help. It's going to be okay. And, you know, nothing bad is going to come of it. And I think you made such a great point too, that what you're doing to, you know, self-medicate or self-help right now, the excessive drinking, they tend to shut down and close down emotionally. All of those things are more detrimental to your job and your home life than getting help would be. And that's such a huge takeaway, I think. And I really hope that, you know, I think we talked about maybe via email, if this helps one person, I think you said that, if this helps one person, gets them to reach out and get the help that they need, It's so worth it. Now, as spouses, and this might be a little bit maybe more complex. This could be like a whole other episode probably, but how do we, as spouses and loved ones, how do we help and how do we recognize the signs of especially unhealthy stress? I mean, stress is stress. Stress exists. We live with stress. But, of course, we're talking about the excessive stresses, the really detrimental stuff. So kind of a two-parter. How do we help and how do we recognize these things?
Sure. So how you recognize, so that's a broad one, but a couple of things. Any dramatic changes in someone's normal personality and behavior, right? As a broad brush. So I'm your spouse and I'm usually very engaged with the family and talkative. And then all of a sudden I seem withdrawn. I'm not going to the kids' ball games. Again, that's a 180-degree change of my normal personality and behavior. Something is going on with me. Right? Could be work related. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a combination of things. I think some of the more other behavioral things are someone's drinking is increased. Right? I used to go out with the boys twice a week. Now I'm going 5 nights a week. Right? I'm having a sleep disturbance. Right? I'm having difficulty sleeping. I mean, there are behavioral manifestations that something is going on, even though we're not quite sure what's going on. The challenge is, how does the family help that person? Okay, so one is talking about that, right? So the wife saying to the husband or the partner or the wife, I've noticed that you're spending less time with the family. Everything okay? You want to talk? Or the issue around drinking, right? I mean, that's an obvious thing. You know, if I've gone out, I typically go out twice a week and now I'm going out 4 or 5 times, something's going on. You can reach out to me. Now, again, the challenge is going to be, and you already said that, if they close down, right, and they did experience a couple of bad calls, they're probably not going to share that with you, right? So there's not much you can do except express your concerns to your loved one and say, I'm here if you ever want to talk, right? Now, if the drinking is getting out of hand and you're concerned about it and your loved one isn't interested in talking to anyone, I would find out, does the department have a police peer support team? Is there someone on that team who's tight with your husband or your partner? I would give them a ring and say, hey, John, I'm worried about my husband, my partner, my wife. I think they're drinking more than usual. Have you noticed anything? And then see if that officer, that member of the peer team will talk to them.
Those are great suggestions. Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, I think a lot of times, I think what happens is they don't know when they should say something. How long do I hear that a lot. This just happened. It's only been a week. It's been a couple of weeks. How long do I give him to process this or move on from it or get over it? Am I waiting too long? I hear a lot of self-doubt and uncertainty as to the when do I step in.
Right. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
That really is. It depends on all sorts of factors, right? But
Absolutely.
I think the most important thing is to communicate our concerns with our loved ones. Knowing full well you can't force your wife, husband, partner into treatment, right? But you certainly can express your concerns. There's also comfort in numbers, because I'm sure in your department, you're friends with a couple of the wives and girlfriends of officers. I would talk to them. Have you gone through this with your partner, your husband, your wife? How did you get them to get help? That sort of thing.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
That's actually been one of the few plus sides of social media. I find that, for all of the negative social media has brought to us, it has opened up this whole world of, for my world, for me and people like me in the law enforcement family, there's all these wives, police wives groups out there that you can be a part of, and, conversation and help and advice and just relatability is literally just like a click away. So one of the few upsides of social media, I think. So I do always encourage fellow LEOWs and partners to seek out groups.
Right. The other thing is, in the context of your question, is those wives, girlfriends, husbands, spouses should know if their partner's department has an EAP and call them. I'm really worried about my wife. She's a cop. She's drinking more. Let me call the EAP. Let me schedule a session for me to get some insight. How can I convince my loved one to get help? And again, even if the officer, she doesn't think the drinking is a problem, to say to them, why don't you and I both go? I'm not an EAP expert. I'm not a substance abuse expert, but I noticed you seem to be drinking more. Do this for me. Let's go have a meeting. It's free. The EAP model typically is 3 sessions. So if you convince your loved one to join their spouse to talk about the concerns that she sees, that she thinks the drinking is out of hand, that may help too. So related to this is a now chief, but a woman who was head of a peer team in a big city many years ago said to me, there's 2 things. Don't fuck with a cop's family or his or her money, is what she said. Right? So there is, and although we've made tremendous progress, there's still this, I want to protect my family. So again, after the George Floyd situation, where the nation erupted and all the stress related to that, defund the police, we heard anecdotally cops saying to their families, take the decals off the car, don't make any reference on Facebook that your husband, wife, dad is a cop. People are retrenching, right? Because they felt they were under assault. It was at that time that the police chief in Greenwich, Jim Heavey, his wife contacted us, was very concerned about what's going on with the families. And I think I may have shared some information with you. So we put together what we thought would be a family support group. Right? It had Dr. Legal, Dr. Kirscher, and myself. We scheduled the first one in the evening. We mailed out an announcement to, at that time, it was maybe 52 police departments. It's free. It's in the evening. So, Mr. Chief, Miss Chief, spread this out to the rank and file. We were excited about this. We thought we'd get a whole bunch of people. Our very first session, I think we had 6 or 7 wives on the call. Now, first time we did it, right? And it was powerful because the women who were on it, because oftentimes we think I'm the only one struggling with this. And one of the benefits of groups is we all struggle with very similar things, right? So it was powerful, even though it was a small number of people. No big thing. We scheduled another one 2 weeks later, sent another announcement out. And my guess is a couple of years ago, we have to have covered, with 57 police departments, I don't know, 2,000 to 3,000 cops. I would be my guess. I never really added how many police officers in the various departments we work with. So we sent another one out. 2 weeks later, we had 4 people sign in. And so at that point, we decided, and I felt terrible. I can't remember Chief Heavey's wife, wonderful woman. She was going to continue it on her own. So this is how I process that. Is it that our contacts, chief, whoever, didn't distribute that? Or did they distribute it and the officer, she decided, I'm not going to share this with my family? I don't know the answer to that.
That's an excellent question. Yeah, that's a hard one. I know in my other lane of life, which is authorship, I know that people don't, Zoom and all of these things seem like such a great idea. I love it. I think it's fantastic. You get to talk to people all around the world if you choose to, if you want to. But at the same time, I think people also resist it for some reason, and I don't have any answers either for you. I wish I did, but it's so unfortunate because what a great opportunity, and what a great resource. And I think you probably did touch on some of it. There probably is some fear of, well, what are they going to say? If they get all together, what are they going to say? Because that is the thing. I remember in early years, dating my husband, we would go to an event, a police event, and there is always that conversation of, okay, so we don't talk about X, Y, and Z. Don't mention some things that and that is really the police wife's role, that you don't know anything, is basically, the wink, I don't know anything, I didn't hear anything, and that's what the smart ones do. The not so smart ones will gossip and say things they shouldn't say, but that is part of the that's part of the education of becoming a police wife, that you don't talk about certain things with certain people because of what might happen, where it might go. And that stigma is, I would actually, it's not fair to call that a stigma. I think that's just, I don't know, that's job preservation, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is, but I mean, when you hear, again, in those two smaller groups we had, to have one police wife say that their child was disinvited from birthday parties, and you're talking about young kids who don't understand the larger issues going on in our society, but people retrenching, people pulling back and feeling mistrustful, and it's sad.
Yes.
It really is.
It's very sad. It has the environment, the climate, the social climate towards law enforcement. I would say it has changed many of us. It has made us very wary of non-law enforcement people. I'll only speak for myself, because I think that's the only person I should speak for. But I would say, I do have some reserve when it comes to people that I don't know, and my guard is up. And when they do ask, what does your husband do? What do you do for a living? What does your husband do? And there was a very brief period of time, like you had mentioned, our law enforcement spouses were telling us, take the decals off, don't mention it, don't talk about it. And I did abide by that for a little while. And as you maybe could guess by now, I have a big mouth, and I don't like being told that I can't say or do something because, it might hurt somebody's fragile feelings, or it might make them angry. And so that didn't last very long for me. And that's when I actually became a more vocal law enforcement family advocate, because I'll be damned if you're going to tell me I can't vocally and loudly support people who are doing so much good in the world. And because you don't like them, because you have these absolutely false perceptions of what goes on here. Right. And so my mouth just got louder, but it works both ways in our world here. There's ones that won't say anything on social media, and then there's the big mouths like me. So it's changed us. It's truly changed how we live, how we look at people, how we do things. It's sad.
The only thing I would respectfully disagree with you on is when I do a police training and a cop will say, everyone hates us. And my response is, no, that is not true. It truly, and you look at the studies and the research, the majority of people want law enforcement. What they don't want is bad law enforcement. And if we're honest with ourselves, there have been some bad shootings in this country. It is what it is. But and I say this to my family and friends who know what I do, the majority, 99% of the men and women I work with give a shit about what they do. There's no question. Are there bad cops who've some bad decisions? Yes, just like there's bad social workers, doctors, attorneys in any profession. But the majority of men and women who do this work deserve our support and respect. Last November, since I'm a post instructor, I was doing a class for recruits in Bridgeport. And last November, I mean, this is the midst of all this craziness going on. And honestly, I walk into this room and there's 25 young, bubbly-eyed kids becoming cops in Bridgeport. And part of me wanted to say to them, what the fuck is wrong with you taking on this profession? Now, obviously, I don't say that.
Right.
Because it is a noble profession.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
However, it's a stressful profession. And if you don't learn self-care, if you don't learn how to take care of yourself, and by default, taking care of your family, it's going to mess you up.
Right. That's absolutely true. And you're absolutely right. The majority of people, I do agree with you, the majority of people do respect the police, do appreciate the police. It's unfortunately that the loudest voices are the ones that don't. And that's kind of my call to action for people, to stand up, fight back, and just tell them, no, you're wrong. No, and arm yourself. You know, my big thing is numbers and facts. Know the data, know the facts, know the numbers, and you know, all of your feelings, you know, I'm a facts over feelings girl. All of your feelings don't negate facts. So you can feel however you want, but the facts are going to be what they are. And I think that's what we, you know, kind of have to fight against, that negative stigma, that perception. And for our law enforcement officers to, like you said, to remind them that, you know, the world isn't against you. There are people who are against you, but the majority are with you and support you. And you're so right. You know, I think the other misconception that the general public has is that just because we say we support police, they automatically think that means that we support all police, bad police, good cops, bad cops. It doesn't matter. We just blindly support them. And it couldn't be further from the truth. Nobody hates a bad cop more than a good cop and a good cop's family.
Right.
You know,
I say that all the time. The same thing. No one hates a bad cop more than a good cop.
Yeah.
Because it tarnishes the whole profession.
It does.
Right?
It truly does.
Let's be real. The media, don't get me started on the media. They'll
you and me both.
They'll get focused on the bad shooting, which does happen, right? But they don't do the story about the cops who are playing basketball with kids, the cops who are helping them all. I mean, all the other good stuff that cops do, because it doesn't sell. What sells is the Derek Chauvin horrible shootings.
Right.
That's what sells. And
that's what sells.
It. And let's see, Bill Maher, who I love, always says this all the time: Americans are stupid.
Yes.
We are. I don't mean you and I don't mean
not us.
I mean everyone else.
Everyone else,
people don't educate themselves.
Right.
Really don't. They get
it's so
news.
Frustrating.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It really is.
Yeah, the ability to use logic and reason and critical thinking seems to have disappeared. Like, they just take everything at face value. You know, now we're in a day and age where a soundbite or a meme is the gospel, is a fact. We take, just because a meme said so, it must be true, and people won't research, they won't take the time, and literally most of the things that you hear or question, it'll take you about 15 minutes tops to research. You know, what's the whole thing? It's like there's one side and the other side, and the truth is somewhere in the middle. So you look for the middle. You know, critical thinking. Let's bring it back. I want a slogan that says, let's bring back critical thinking.
Right. Or common sense.
Common sense would be nice.
Doesn't exist. Just to jump back to the family stuff and the connections with the families, one of the good things that came out of the May 2nd SWAT explosion is all those wives making a text link with each other.
Oh, that's terrific.
Right? Because there was so much misinformation when that May 2nd SWAT explosion. Idiots posting shit on Facebook. One of the cops who I've gotten very close to is this huge, muscular, tattooed guy. And someone called his wife. Now, this was a friend, saying they found an arm with tattoos on it. Was it your husband?
Oh, my God.
And so much misinformation within the first few hours of the 8-second SWAT explosion. They started making the linkage text messages. When we met with them, at least 18 of them 2 weeks later, they kept that up.
Oh, that's so nice.
Those are the sort of things should be going on in departments before there's a major critical incident. The wives, the girlfriends, the family should have some sort of linkage to support each other. I think that's helpful to do as well.
Absolutely. Now, in your capacity, is that something, I don't know if you're even allowed to do that, because I know you said you can't specifically reach out to families, they kind of have to reach out to you, but is that something you can help facilitate with when you meet with these people, or is it just simply a suggestion, just like, hey, you guys maybe want to set up this, text chain where you guys can all keep in contact, or can they do that through your services?
Absolutely.
Is that even an option?
So both could happen. So we would
Okay.
encourage them to set that up. If they wanted to have a meeting with us, right? If maybe the concerns of this group was concerns about their children, right?
Mhm.
Dealing with mommy being a cop or daddy being a cop, I'd bring in my partner, Mark Kirshner. He deals with adults and children. So he can talk to that with the family support group, if you will, of law enforcement about parenting issues. But absolutely, again, going back to all my EAP contracts have training hours, right? And if there was a need in a department, they wanted to set up a group for the wives and family members, and they wanted us to come in and talk about what are the signs and symptoms when I think my husband or wife's drinking is out of hand. We can do all sorts of educational topics for family members too.
That's fantastic.
What we can't do is I can't ask your husband's department, give me a list of all the wives and husbands, and we'll reach out to them. It's not going to happen.
Okay,
right?
gotcha. Okay.
But what we did with the New Haven Fire Department after the tragic instances of, a line of duty death and another horrible situation the week before, I asked the chief if we can do a mailing, if we can write an information sheet to go out to families, and they agreed to do that. So
nice.
basically what we did is put together a letter that the city of New Haven, Chief Alston, had his staff send out to all the family members, because we can't do that. First of all, I don't have everyone's address, it's confidential, but they did. And the letter basically said, the recent losses don't just affect your husband, wife, firefighter, it affects the family. We're here to remind you that these are services for you and your immediate family too. Right?
Nice.
So that's the sort of thing that a police department, a fire department could do. Because again, to make sure everyone knows that these services, and I mean, doing this for so long, I as I said before, I say all the time, your job's not just about you.
Right.
Your job impacts your family. There's no two ways about it. It does.
Yep, that is so true.
Our difficulty is, as I said, we can't reach out directly to you. A cop would be offended. I mean, let's take a fictional example, right? Let's say I called you up. We don't know each other, but I know you're the wife of the lieutenant. And I call you up and say, hey, I just want to remind you that EAP is here for you and your family and stuff. What do you think your husband's reaction would be? And let's say he doesn't know me, but he comes home and you say to him, hey, honey, I just want you to know, I got a call from the EAP guy for the department offering services. How do you think he'd respond to that?
Yeah, probably not too well. Yeah. Right? What's he calling you for? Where'd he get your number from?
Yeah, exactly. Right?
Just keeping it real here. All of them are going to say the same thing. What's he calling you for?
Absolutely. Right?
Yes. So I totally get your point. Yes, that makes perfect sense.
But your message to your group, to Blue Family Unity, is it doesn't matter where they're living, what state they're in. There's a good chance that their police department, especially if it's a big one, has an EAP. And there's a better chance that they don't know it.
I agree. You're absolutely right. And speaking just, from my own lack of knowledge, I did not know that. So I would like to believe that I'm not the only one that wasn't aware of that. And it's such a valuable tool, as we said before, such a valuable resource. So now if you are, so I'm kind of talking to the audience right now, if you are a Connecticut native, you live in Connecticut and you are part of the law enforcement or fire department family, and you are looking for some assistance, maybe Jim could give us his contact info, or how they can find you, Jim.
Sure. So two things. So if there's a Connecticut first responder on this call, police, fire, it doesn't matter. They can call our 800 number and ask, is my wife's, my husband's department, do you do the EAP for them? right? So that number is 1-800-864-2742. And all they would need to do is, hey, I'm the wife of a Stanford police officer, a Windsor Locks police officer. Does your company do the EAP for my wife, my husband's department? We'll know that immediately.
Perfect.
I'm
Fantastic.
going to give you my landline. If someone has a question they want to ask me, my landline is 203-288-3554, extension 18.
Perfect. Jim, this has been fantastic. I can't thank you enough. You have given so much valuable information to people today, and I can't wait for this show to go live for everybody to see this, because I just appreciate you so much and appreciate what you do. Thank you.
Well, and let me reciprocate that. I think it's wonderful what you're trying to do to support the families of the men and women in blue, because it is so necessary, and it's so necessary at this time in our lives with all the craziness going on out there, right?
Absolutely. Yep. We're going to bring the peacefulness back one way or another. We're getting it back. We're taking it back.
There you go. And listen, and again, I apologize for the technical difficulties over the last week. But we're here and we've done it. So anything further I can do, Elsa, just give me a holler.
I appreciate you. We're so worth the wait. Thank you very much. And we'll talk again soon. We'll definitely talk off air after. We'll exchange some emails. I'd like to find some ways that I can help you get your word out and get your mission out too for people. So we'll see what we can do.
Happy to do so. And give my regards to your lesser half, because clearly you're the better half.
I agree. I just ruined it by saying that. Thank you very much. You take care and have a great rest of your weekend. Have a great weekend. What am I saying?
I will. You do the same. Stay safe.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye. If you're part of the law enforcement family, this is your show. Here we talk about all things Leo family life, the good, the bad, the funny and the sad, and everything in between.
It is necessary to purge the establishment.
What she's suggesting that churches do, a focus on...
That's not necessarily a good thing to start with.
The state wasn't around when we needed the greatest generation of the 30s or 40s.
It happened before the election because there are too many Republicans that are afraid that their wrongdoings are going to...
It's unacceptable, and I'm not going to sit here, stay silent, and not call it out. I'm calling out their lies.
Do they think that we are so stupid that we